This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing.
Welcome to another episode of Tough Talk Tuesday. As always, I'm your host, Lucas Biggers. Alongside me, I got Robert Alexander. What's going on, Rob?
What's up, man? What's up?
What's up with it? All right, let's talk a little bit about the ESPN fights this weekend. Rob, let's touch a little bit on the undercard of Robeisy Ramirez as he kind of refused to fight after about, what was that, the seventh round?
Yeah, 6, 7.
Okay. He clearly got elbowed. All right. But to answer the bell and to come out and then just turn around and walk back, say he didn't want to fight anymore, it looked bad. But obviously there's a lot of context to it. But Rob, I want to come to you first off. The commentators were all over him, you know what I mean? And rightfully so in a way. It depends where you sit. You know, I understand what they were trying to say. Nobody knows the extent of an injury until we know. But in the boxing game, it's about machismo, it's about that ego, and it's about that fighter spirit. And when you look like you don't have that, the rest of the boxing world starts to eat you up. But Rob, I want to get your take on it all.
I'm so mad at Tim Bradley. I would have looked at Mark Kriegel and said, have you ever been in the fucking ring before? Have you ever stepped foot in the ring? No. So shut your damn mouth, Kriegel. I'm saying it on here. Shut your damn mouth. Look, this is a blood sport. Blood sport.
Right.
It is highly dangerous in the ring. And you know what? Guess what? When fighters don't quit, which is more often than none, actually too often, they criticize them for not quitting. They criticize the corner for not quitting. They do that all the time. But now you have a situation where you have a fighter who says, no, I've had enough. It wasn't just one elbow either, Lucas. If you go back to it, there were 2, 3 elbows in the 5th round on that one sequence that he actually caught him with, right? So there's like 2 or 3 elbows that he caught him with. And for you to sit there and say, for him, did he quit? Yeah, I think he did. But he had good reasoning. He didn't want to hurt the eye and damage it any more than it needed to be. And I'm okay with that. Because again, too many times more than often, we have a situation with a corner or a fighter who won't quit and the fight needs to be stopped.
Make a good case. It's hard to argue against that, obviously, for health reasons too. It sounds bad, but you still want your fighter to have that mentality. So his corner did not do him any favors. Okay. You let them stop the fight. They throw in the towel. You need to have some kind of winky wink moment, you know, where if I do this, I'm done. Like, you need to help throw in the towel. I mean, you're about to go into a fight against a person. You need an out. You know what I mean? You need a safety word. Okay. Pineapple. You gotta have something. You gotta say something. But if you are allowing that, it's hurting your image. And in this sport, more than any other sport, image is everything.
Well, okay? I know Shakur is dying to get in here on this conversation. But I do want to make one point to your argument, Lucas, is that I would argue that he did not quit because he went to that round. He got punched, and then after the punch to the eye, he said, I'm not going to take this damage. So I would argue the fact that, no, quitting to me would be him going in the corner and saying, I ain't doing this. He did. He came into the ring, and he took a punch. And after he took that punch, with a badly damaged eye like that, That's a valid reason to back out of the fight. That's an injury.
I'm just gonna say, what's up, guys? I'm glad to see you. Um,
Hey,
yes, happy December, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you prefer. Um, you know what? I'm not upset with Ramirez at all because, well, if I had to critique anything, it would be that he probably, like, when it started like being too serious, he probably just let it slip his head that the best thing to do is to just take a knee, right? So like you having a moment of discombobulation or whatever, or you feel injured, you are supposed to take a knee so that things can progress from there with the ref, and he knows exactly what the situation is that you need a moment. The way that he did it was turning his back and kind of holding up his glove,
mm,
which isn't a way to that you technically, if we're following boxing rules, that's not the way you're supposed to do it.
no, you don't want to walk away
But
from the fight.
yeah, but many fights have been stopped for people not being able to see out of their eyes, whether it be from a cut, whether it be an orbital bone breakage, all kinds of things where they're just like, can you see? And if you can't, the fight is usually stopped. It's just the way that it occurred that had certain people upset, and I've tried to help raise money, raise awareness. There are a couple of things. It didn't even have to be damage to his eye. It could have been, God, thankfully, it wasn't. However, you know, having blurred vision, blinking your eyes, those are symptoms of um, damage, brain damage too. So you don't know which one it is at the moment when you're not, when you're just looking from the outside. And even the boxer himself doesn't know, So it's a situation where it's better to be cautious than to lose your eyesight, because as being someone that tries to volunteer and has tried to help others raise money for retired boxers, for ill boxers, um do you know how hard it is to get a fan to pay $5 freaking to help an injured boxer or a retired boxer that needs help? $5. So no,
Imagine.
I'm not upset at all that he went ahead and decided, guess what? I don't need to be losing my eyesight. And also, as Rob pointed out, it could also just stop an injury from getting even worse. Now, when Lucas, you were talking about the corner and how you didn't think maybe they did him any favors. Now you're right about that, because if he came to the corner around before that and was like, "Hey guys, my eyesight is kind of blurry," and then they say, "What? Oh, go out there and try again." Let's just make sure that's see what you can do.
I mean, it's
So
boxing though, right? So it's hard. You get punched in an eye, you're gonna get dizzy, you're gonna get fuzziness, you're gonna not be able to see straight. I mean,
no,
in this
Lucas,
case,
but by the time a boxer wants to even admit that that is the issue,
right?
they
There's already a
probably,
problem.
yeah, like it's no telling when he actually realized that something could be possibly blurry. But when he actually goes to the corner and says, "Hey guys, look, my eyesight is kind of it's really blurry right now. I don't know what's wrong." You know, the team also has the ability to say, "Hey doc, can you take a look?" Or let the ref call the doc in at the beginning of the next bell so they can have a look. None of that happened.
Mm-mm.
None of that happened.
So
So, like you
boxing
said, they didn't they
failed,
didn't do him any favors. You're correct.
Yeah,
but
Shakur, I mean, how many times do we see a fighter go to the corner and say, my right arm is broken? What do they say? Well, use your left thing, right? Well,
Right.
use your left hand. So you admittedly wanting them to fight one-handed.
Right. But let's get this straight. If your hand is broken, if your arm is broken, your leg, your ankle, all these things are things that can heal. They can get
Mhm.
better. That eyesight is one thing
Cannot.
that you do not know for sure is going to actually get better. There are too many athletes that we already know had to retire early or has prolonged issues um, because of eye injuries. So
Look at
this
Errol
this is
Spence.
not
Yeah.
anything to be, this is different than the standard injury where you can send somebody out and say, hey, let's see if you can just use your left or your right or what have you. Because that eyesight is something that is way harder to prepare. And sometimes even once it's repaired, it doesn't mean that you're gonna receive all your visual um abilities back again.
Or they
No, I
So
saying
mean,
I'm
fight,
not
fight,
mad at him at
fight
all.
like this. Fight like go ahead and fight like this.
yeah, I agree. I think it was a way to stop it. I mean, you get those like we talked about Errol Spence, but it's more than just him. You got Kell Brook, which I don't think was the same after his
Mhm.
broken orbital bone. Margarito, you can keep naming them. I mean, it's something that
I think
is
it's Julian Jackson also had an orbital bone injury. And, he was even saying, like, the peripheral view, the side view is not ever, you don't get that
not
full
ever the
side
same.
view. And
Right.
so, therefore, you cannot see as many punches coming in from certain angles when that has, occurred. So, yeah, just be cautious. I mean, and I don't know what this is about him quitting because obviously the first fight, which was one of the fight of the years that year, um, between Ramirez and Espinoza, that was already a fight of the year. But towards the end of that fight, I mean, he was like not doing well, and he was taking a lot of punishment in those last two rounds by Espinoza, and he never tried to stop then. So why all of a sudden did they just assume that he just wanted to quit, and that was the way out? And they were many times when the fight flowed back and forth between the two guys. So just because it looked like he wasn't doing well at the time of the stoppage doesn't mean in his mind he didn't believe 100% I can come back, and have 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 good rounds again. So I don't buy into that particular thing, but I did think that it was pretty unprofessional for certain people to just assume that and put it out there in the ether of social media that he was a no mas. I really thought that was a disservice, especially when you didn't know all the facts before
It's
you actually did that. Um, Roberto Duran is still trying to live down that no mas situation with some Americans. That's the only thing they know him for, even though he had
yeah,
an amazing career before and after that that Canada Toronto fight.
right.
Um,
And that's
so
what I said is image is so important in boxing.
yes.
And I think, like we were talking about earlier, I think his corner didn't do him any good. I think the ring doctor failed there. Ref, another failure. There's failures upon all of this because it should have been resolved. What's the point of having a ringside doctor? If you're doing nothing, what the fuck is the point of you being there? Don't be there. We don't want to pay your salary to sit there to do jack shit. But that's what's happening, guys. I mean, they don't check on anything. It could be like, fucking 4 inches wide. Oh, fight on. How rarely do you see that the doctor calls it off anymore? I mean, I don't know what has to happen for them to call a fight off. But that's what's supposed to happen, right? Robeisy is not the one that's supposed to have to protect himself. He's supposed to be protected by everybody else around him, too. You are expected, and the fans expect, that you are going to fight until you can't fight no more, or the doctor says it ain't safe for you to fight no more. So we all kind of jump to a conclusion to say, hey, you ain't that bad hurt. Come on, get back in there and keep fighting. We don't know that this doctor ain't doing his job. most of the common fans would say they didn't know that. Like, why wouldn't he get checked by the doctor? That's a good question. We don't know. No one knows. Do you guys have any solutions or any thoughts on that? What can we do to make the doctor more impactful in boxing? Should he be more impactful in boxing? Because that's a steep slope. Once we get that involved, then it's, well, this sport's dangerous anyway. You go in here expecting to get hurt. This is the hurt business. You came in here. Robeisy knew the risk entering the ring. So you want that guy, and most fans are saying, hey, he's not that guy. He don't have that machismo. He don't want to keep going. It's all surface level, right? And we already talked about how it's deeper than that. But surface level for most people is what you get. They see that, they move on. You know what I mean? So now, as we talked about, just with the No Mas situation, this is going to be remembered. Victor Ortiz, broken jaw situation against Josito Lopez. It is going to follow him.
Well, you're not going to like my answer. But just
that wasn't a question.
No, your question about what can be done, right? That was your question, is what can be done. Well, to be honest, then they need to set up like the NFL does with the blue tent, right? You set up like a blue tent situation where you have them go in to see the doctor, the specialist, or see a doctor under a tent. Nobody else can come in. Not their corner, not his corner, not the referee. Nobody else can come in. Let them do a real quick evaluation, a proper evaluation, and determine if the fighter can continue.
How long are we talking about?
Completely stop the action.
It's going to derail everything.
Well, I mean, again, do you want the sport to be safe? Do you want the sport to be safe?
Because
it sounds like you don't.
I don't feel like it's an issue of them not being able to be given enough time to assess a boxer. I think it's more about the confidence that the physicians have, that the people that they're hired to work for, like the boxing commissioners, like they have to let them know, like, yeah, 100%, I'm behind you, no matter what you decide to do when you're, called to assess. Because I feel like there's some doctors, and there's some great doctors out there. Don't get me wrong, but I do feel like there's some doctors that maybe don't feel 100% like, like they should be, that they can stop a fight without having a bunch of backlash. Like, I think it's more of a cultural thing than it is an actual, do the doctors have enough time to come up to the ring and actually assess a situation?
I think it's both.
Yeah, like, but what Rob is saying is, like, sometimes the corner is like, yeah, man, he's fine, because the doctor's up there and they're like trying to assess, and then the trainer's like, yeah, we good. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think
they're trying to answer
everybody.
For the boxer, and it's like they don't get but so close, because they're like, yeah, back up, we got this. When they don't have this at all, because they're not getting proper training on what they should be looking for as far as signs of, brain injury, or a broken eye, or a socket, or whatever the case may be. There's not enough training involved for trainers and their corners. The only one that actually, you have your cut man that knows a little bit more than the rest of the team. And that cut man,
he ain't sharing no info.
Well, yeah, they have their own little, they teach each other. They all have like mentors and things. But what I'm saying is, like, with certain cut men, they go the extra mile to know more. And then you got the cut men that's like in the back, and they're like, hey, can you do my guy too? Grab the bucket, let's go. And that happens like that in the locker room sometimes on the smaller circuits, on smaller shows especially. Well, I'm sure it happens time on big shows too. where it's just the guy in the back that did that's cut man for one boxer, and then he ends up being called or asked to do more. So I mean, it's a situation where it's more of a teachable moment for everybody that's involved, but it also has to do with the confidence that an actual physician feels in being able to really do their job and assess whether or not something is kind of borderline and they don't really know, because it's only so much assessments you can do in the on the road. You standing on the outside of the road, the box is on the
Yeah.
inside of the road. Yeah, you ain't like you got no x-ray machines and CT, scans and all
Right.
this stuff available there. So it's just so much that you're gonna be able to do.
Well, this would
But
be the referee has some discretion there, doesn't he? I mean, if the referee
I
sees
mean,
an
he can
issue, he
call the
should.
doctor to come up
He
and
should.
check him out. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
can.
they could have done that in this fight. Whoever,
But they have to know
whatever.
that there's an issue. Did Robeisy, say that? Did he say to did the ref know that there was an issue? So, because it sounded like to me, he just went to the
I
corner
don't
and
think.
was like,
I
"Hey,
don't think he
I
did.
ain't really, my stuff is kind of blurry." And then they were just like, "Well, go out there on this round and see what you can do." I mean, that doesn't mean that the ref is aware of what actually transpired in that corner, or
Right.
that there was an issue with that. They have to know.
Um, James.
Yo, I'm thinking. The referee should have at some point sent that Ramirez over to the corner to get inspected, because the look was pretty bad. I mean, the way it was swollen to me looked like there was a serious injury, like a fractured orbital or something to that effect. It didn't look like your typical swelling. Um, it just looks different. And yeah, no, I really think that the corner blew it and the referee blew it, and having a ring doctor there, you know, for no reason at all now. I mean, it just makes no sense to even have a ring doctor there if they're not going to take any action. So I don't know. I feel bad for Ramirez, but he got hit with the old one too. So jab, jab, and an elbow to the eye. Not very cool.
now, now, before we move on, though, correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but he didn't have to actually call the fight there either, right? The referee, because nobody stepped up from the corner and quit. Um, and
I mean, but the rule is if
Ramirez,
you
He
turn your
quit.
back to the
He quit.
action,
Yeah.
yeah, like that's what the referee is gonna assume, that you calling off the fight, like you just walked
so
away.
He
he had to
signaled it was
call it.
done.
He couldn't. I guess my question is he couldn't just have asked for the referee then. He
Yeah,
had to stop it.
The
right.
referee makes his
So,
rounds in between, and he would have been need to be alerted in the corner, not during an
Yeah, they
active
stop
fight.
it in the middle of fight
But
to
had
the
he
referee.
actually took a knee, then there would have been
Yeah,
like the
like
ref being more like, "Hey, what's up?" If he'd have said then like, "Yo, my eyesight is blurry" or whatever, then they could have called the doctor in at that time. Cause taking
right.
a knee just means I need a moment. But if you walk away, you turning your back towards the action, that's like you forfeiting the fight.
And I don't know if I would agree, Rob, that I want to see the fight getting stopped like that. At least not made a habit of, because people be able to take advantage of that too and be like, I need a break. Oh, I'm seeing blurry. You know what I mean? I'm not. If fighters will do anything to gain that upper edge, and I wouldn't blame them.
yeah, well,
You want
generally,
an extra
Well,
breather,
they're doing that with the mouthpieces now.
yes,
They
generally
just
they
spit the
don't mind.
mouthpiece out.
right? But that's supposed to be a ref saying, "Hey, warning. Hey, you're going to get a point deducted." It just doesn't happen. I don't. For the life of me, I don't know why. I don't know why the rules aren't kept in a lot of these fights. Little stuff like that, even like we talk about, is just stuff that goes on for so long. The elbow itself. Come on.
Yeah, it was kind of like hard for the ref at the angle he was at too. But also, I saw like the replay that they showed us, it was kind of like Robeisy had her arm like on the other side, and the guy, and then Espinoza is swinging, and it kind of looks like it's grazing the eye, and like, so it's kind of like what where the ref probably was like, well, hey, you're holding them, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you had his other arm. But that's just one occasion. Like Rob was saying, there was other occasions, but I mean, um, who knows how that fight would have, like, had he not stopped the fight when he did. I mean, and knowing that hook really did, like some major damage, enough damage to make him want to stop, then just imagine how much damage it could have caused had he continued, further. So I'm glad, even though I feel like he should have just took a knee instead of walking away, I do still feel like he did the right thing to just go ahead and be like, yo, I can't do this right now. And I'm not trying to risk my eyesight. So
Yeah, I think there's a lot that goes into that. I think ESPN, an initial reaction, okay, but then they just kind of like kept on it. I think nobody would have a problem with the initial reaction of, oh man, he quit. We shouldn't be doing that. Look what I did against preventive call. Then move on. Don't harp and harp and harp. Now I think you made it too big of a deal. You know what I mean? And now fighters are going to be less likely to want to come out because they get judged so badly. But again, this is a fight
Yeah,
game, so again, it's
I'm gonna
just
keep.
there's got to be a method. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna keep it PG-13. F them, okay?
I'm going to say there's got to be a method to the madness, and probably putting your hands up and walking away. No mas style is not a good look. I think you want to take a knee, come back and box a little bit, and then maybe take another knee and say, it's bad. Or go to the corner and let the trainer wave it off, not you, not the fighter. So in a sense, you're not quitting. Or just wait till the referee realizes that you're injured, and then hopefully it gets stopped. But yeah, it's a bad look. It's and what do you expect from people? The commentators that we have these days, they know nothing. Their first inclination was to call it a no mas, and that's pretty fucked up.
And again,
That's a very
yes.
serious. That's a serious injury.
And Tim Bradley knows
Yes.
better, but that's why I said I would ask
Well,
Mark
he reserved
Kriegel.
himself. I'll give him credit when they came back at the end of the night. He did like refrain from what he was thinking. He didn't say it while the other two continued to go along those
Yeah,
lines of bashing him.
I
And I don't know how much of that is because, hey, they had their new man, which was Espinoza, and so they were pissed that the fight was stopped, and then Krigo kept bringing up the fact that we were celebrating Velasquez. Is
which
that
is total
yeah,
bullshit.
but I mean that
Yeah,
just made me think, well, guess what, if Robeisy knew about
yeah,
him and what happened to his eye, and you are honoring him that night, that's like it's in his mind, like, damn, what if my eyes effed up like that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he started to think like, yeah, like we are honoring him tonight, so
yeah.
that makes the situation in his mind as well.
And that's stupid. And Kriegel, that's why I got a problem with you. And
Cradle.
again, I ask your ass, have you ever stepped in the ring before? Okay? The answer is no. Because you sitting there glorifying the fact that the man, like, basically glorifying him, like, oh, we're celebrating him because he was willing to, he risked his eye in the ring. No, damn it, no. No, that's not why we're celebrating him. We're celebrating him because he was a hell of a fighter, and no man should have to be forced to go in that ring to lose an eye. Come on.
I mean, I don't think anybody is forced. Here's the thing, and I think it's lost in translation. We want the sport to be safer, but you can't take the savagery out of boxing. You can't. If you take it out, It's not boxing anymore. Everybody wants a Turo guy. Everybody wants that kind of a dude. We don't want to see a Victor Ortiz. We don't want to see those guys quit in the corner. We don't want to see that. If they're hurt, we understand more, but let's face it, we all still want to see them continue. We
But
want to
I,
see
I
Victor
think that
Ortiz
all
come
the
out of that.
fans, once they realized that it did end up being a fractured orbital bone, most fans are like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's freaking serious." Like all the fans are like, "Okay, we get it now." But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if other people are, some of these uh, professional people that's in the sport, they're the ones that's acting like they don't get it.
Well,
right,
a lot
Like,
of
that's
times those are
weird
the
to
ones
me.
that they're the ones that have done this already themselves. They're
and,
the ones that risk their own lives. They're the ones that are stuttering after fights and can't talk right. So yeah, they should know more than anybody else, but they're like, fuck that. I did that. I risked that. Risk it too.
Well, the only
If
one
you're
but
that
not
could
that
say
kind of
that
a
on that
guy,
panel that night was
but
Bradley. He's the only one that could have said that, and he was the main one not saying that. So make it make sense.
but
I just
Lucas
feel
and
like
James,
you have to, if you don't know all the facts in any situation, it's not good to speak on it.
but
It's
look,
like we'll just let you guys know whenever we have an update on his health, on his eye. That's all
and,
that had to be said.
and,
Because remember, I said you don't even know if just because I might have blurred vision and I might be winking a lot. Those are also brain injury symptoms. So you just don't know. So it's just best don't say anything until you got all the facts. Like,
and,
and they would
and
be one of the first ones to get that update. So it's like just chill on the bashing.
And that's what I have against the commentary. But look, the main point here, Lucas and James, is I would be agreeing with you if it was due to boxing action. It's illegal to elbow in this sport. It came from illegal elbows, period. That's why I have a problem with it.
we're not arguing that. I think the refs failed Robeisy, and I do think the medic. I
I
don't know
mean,
if
but you
when he
guys really
asked to
think
come
that was
up. I don't
intentional?
even know.
I mean,
Not
I don't know if that
necessarily.
was intentional
No.
elbows,
Elbows are
I,
illegal in the sport,
but
are
I
they
don't know
not,
if it was
brother?
intentionally done to Robeisy is what I'm saying. I don't know if
It,
But
that's been
it seemed
that
like
that
the
yeah.
elbow landed rather flush too.
Say
it
that
So
again,
did.
whether it was
James.
intentional or not, it was there.
It
I
was
think.
there.
Well, right, we all saw it was there, but it's another thing to make it seem like like the boxer was intentionally trying to hurt him in that way. So I don't want to say that unless we know for sure that we saw like, oh, this is flagrant, because they got tangled up a few times. They did.
Yeah, not only that, but he's a lot taller and he's a lot longer, so it's bound to happen.
Yes, correct.
But
So
from what I can tell, it landed flush, and I just don't know his intentions. I can't really see what he's thinking, but um, once that elbow hit, I thought this one's over. I mean, it looked pretty bad almost immediately. And there was another fighter that suffered an injury like that. And when he came up off the canvas, it was like, oh shit. I mean, you could just see the eye just pop.
that's
And
what was like
apparently,
bothering me is when he was talking afterwards, and you
yeah,
just saw it like swelling up
it's a different.
while he was talking. It was still going.
Yeah, it's a different swelling. The eye looks different. It's injured. It's definitely injured, but it looks different. So who knows what Espinoza was thinking when that occurred? But in the end, I just want to say the referee should have stepped in. He should be trained to understand that there's something wrong with the guy's eye when it looks that way, and to know to take him to the corner and have the referee have the doctor examine him or walk over to the corner and check up on him and find out what's going on. But nothing like that. Not good. It's not a good look for the sport.
yeah. All right.
Yeah. I think they're working on it. I mean, I think there are a lot of the sanctioning bodies at these different conventions doing seminars now and medical seminars and trying to educate people in the sport more. Those that have the ability to do certain things in the ring, officiating, they are trying to, do better with that. And this matter of fact, this weekend I'm going to be at the WBA convention, and they do have a medical seminar that's going to take place. For now, I can't tell you how many people are going to be in there. I said, of course, they got it starting at 9 a.m. I'm going to try my best to be there on time. But
Right.
everybody knows I'm a rock star. So, I mean, I might be able to make it by 10 at least. But, I mean, I'm very curious to see what we'll be learning this year in that seminar.
I think it's awesome you're doing that. I think everybody should, especially anybody that's going to consider themselves a part of this sport. You should definitely do that. Learn and don't never stop learning the sport that you're into. And I think it's hard for medics too, and I think this may be a reason why fights go on too long. But I mean, you're getting punched in the face, so you're going to get dizzy. All the concussion symptoms will be there, even if you're not really concussed all the way, or if you haven't lost consciousness. Some of those symptoms are going to be showing, and you can't stop a fight every round, you know what I mean, and check on them and have all this time. If we did that, you'd have to make in between rounds 2-3 minutes long. Nobody's sticking around for that fight. So there is no good answer, unfortunately. But I am willing to hear everyone out and propose. So please, if you're listening, if you're watching, write in what you think we should change. How can boxing improve that? Down to the scoring system, even. Improve it all. How can we do it? Hit us up at Heavy Bag Boxing on all our social media. All right. Navarrete KOs Valdez in the rematch. Guys, how impressed? Did we all predict this, James?
And most were. Well, that's interesting. I got to bring that up. I forget what there was. I know in the Ramirez fight, everyone picked Ramirez, and then Valdez. It was a mix. There was a couple of people that got it spot on, which I was really surprised. But yeah. I think you and Rob got it.
There you go, Rob.
Man,
Yes,
Sakura,
the
did you pick
KO.
somebody else?
yeah.
No, I picked Navarrete, but I thought that
Oh, okay.
Valdez was going to be
Thought
able
he was
to
gonna go
do the
12.
12 round. I had it like it was going to be a unanimous decision. So I don't know how that works. James, do I get any credit?
No, just
It's kind of like
Rob,
breaking even,
Rob and
I
Lucas.
need 2 points at least. Come on.
Rob and Lucas. There's only
She's bargaining.
collectively we had 10 bouts in a sense that 2 times 5, and out of the 10, there was only 2 correct answers there. So it was both Navarrete by KO, which is surprising because I never thought he'd stop Oscar Valdez. But if anyone was going to stop Valdez, it would be Navarrete. Bigger, stronger, throws from all these different angles, just really, really awkward, hard puncher. And so there it is. Hats off to Navarrete. I feel bad for my man, Oscar Valdez, but he's had a lot of wars. He's been in a lot of wars. He's had that jaw broken and nose broken, and he's been through a lot. And hopefully, well, it's the conversation is whether he'll retire or not. I don't think he will. I think he'll continue on. Maybe not at that top level. Unfortunately, it's just the way boxing is. But yeah, maybe he's good for a few more bouts before he walks off into the sunset. What do you
So
guys
that was
think?
126 pounds, right?
30.
130. Oh, okay. So basically, he's maxed out at 130.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
facing a lot of boxers at that weight that's going to be bigger than him, meaning taller than him, stronger than him. If he does continue, maybe he could drop back to 126. I just feel like for sure, I would have said KO had I realized that for some reason I didn't realize Navarrete was at 135 and then was able to come back down to 130. I mean,
Right.
that's pretty amazing that he was able to do that. Nobody goes backwards, you know that, unless you're Nonito Donaire. Everybody else is everybody else is going up, 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 up. The weight ladder. So I mean, that's pretty amazing in itself that he went back to 130. But for Oscar, that's like one of the biggest fights that could have been made for him in that weight division. And it's I don't think he should retire because he faced a guy that had every born natural ability, over him.
Yes.
Like those were things he was never going to be able to. He's never going to be able to have that reach. He's never going to be able to have that, that height advantage against Navarrete. So I really don't think he should retire because of that loss. No, I don't.
No, but there's the other thing in the way he fights. He is so one-dimensional. And what he
It
tends
has
to do
been that way since
ever,
the Shelt fight.
he's always been that way. He's always had that same angle of attack, straight up, crouched, in that position he does, and attacks the way he does, and he does it repetitively, and he's kind of easy to time, and I think that's where Navarrete had a big advantage. But the other thing that he did differently this time was that he was tying up Navarrete a little bit more. You really don't see Valdez doing that very often. He did it a few times in this fight, but just didn't make the difference. I think his boxing style had to change, and he had to box a little bit more. But that's difficult because he's fighting with someone who's taller, stronger, and
Right.
a lot longer. So what are you going to do? How are you going to handle that? Just went back to being the same old Oscar, and it's kind of just stopped
Which
working.
that's kind of weird to me because I was like, why do we even need a rematch in that one? I don't remember the first fight being close. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't think that rematch was necessary, but they got it out of us, so we watched.
Yeah, I
I just think that when Valdez was with Roble, it was a lot more boxing,
Manny
street
Robles, yeah,
boxing, and
yeah.
and now that he's with the slugger of coaches, he's went with that style. And it's hard to break habits. It is. It's hard to break new habits that you formed. And so now can he revert back as an older fighter with older legs back to a slick style that Roble had him winning fights with? I don't know.
Well, he's not gone very far with his new coach, Reynoso,
Uh-huh.
and that's been talk, because I follow all the Spanish podcasts and
Oh,
boxing
really?
sites and everything. And yeah, everyone's shitting on Reynoso because they said, he just ruined this fighter. You never did anything with him in terms of not conditioning, but fighting style or his offense or his defense. And, he's getting out there and he's getting mauled. And so a lot
Mm.
of people are pointing the finger at Reynoso. And um, I'm not,
rightfully so.
I don't disagree with them either.
Yeah, you got to.
I mean, but at the same time, it's the boxer's choice. The boxer is with who he feels comfortable with. So he has to realize, like, do I want to be challenged like that by another trainer again?
Yeah, but speaking of
Like it's kind of like the onus is on the actual boxer who pays these guys and chooses their teams.
I
Um,
I think the real challenge here was to fight on the inside and beat Navarrete to the punch, but it seemed like he had a lot of trouble getting in. Once
yeah,
he was in, he would cover up and stop punching. Um,
he had to.
yeah, no, I mean Navarrete is just a bigger dude, so that's just it's an uphill climb for it's an uphill battle for Valdez. But I'm glad they did the rematch. I'm glad because that first fight was pretty intense. And here's another thing, and that never really came to surface, but I thought that all that damage to Oscar Valdez left eye,
Hmm.
or was it right? I don't recall. He walked out with his eye like in really bad shape. You remember that? I thought
Yeah,
that
one of
came,
the eyes closed. I remember
Pretty sure
that.
it was his right,
I
but
I
I'm
thought I thought that came from a headbutt early in like the first or second round,
Oh.
but nothing ever came of that. Maybe it probably wasn't, and thinking about it, but I really thought it was a headbutt that caused that damage. And I was
Rafa got
thinking
his eye was really closed by the end, but
it was bad.
still, you're asking this man Navarrete. He's already a bigger guy in there with you, and now you take him from 135 and say, "Hey, come back down." He still got the strength from 135, even though he made the weight for 130. You know what I'm saying? Like it's even gonna be worse. That would have been my thoughts if I was on the team and I'm like, what can I do? Like, should we take this fight or not? A second one. But it seems like, because that's the biggest fight money wise that could be made for him, then they chose that route. So
Let me just
Yeah.
jump in real quick.
dangerous, very dangerous.
Indeed.
Let me just jump in real quick then with my take on it. Since I heard you guys already. Lucas, pull up Adam's comment right again.
right.
The last one.
We need to read them all, though. You can go ahead.
Well, I want to touch first on Oscar, so we'll go back to Navarrete. That's why I said the last comment.
Oh, my bad.
So I'm touching first on Oscar here, in my take on Oscar. So, Adam, you're absolutely right. This retiring because I lost stuff. And not only that, the commentators are guilty as well. When a guy loses, he should just hang him up and put his gloves in the center of the ring. Or he should be thinking about retiring. Why? We're losing all of our fighters then if that's the case. Oscar is still a hell of a fighter. At the right with the right opponent, he can still win. That's why he got the rematch, because he earned it again. He didn't just get gifted a rematch.
But wouldn't you argue that since the first fight, there was a steep decline in his performance?
And as we touched on, those are several different factors. One of them also being he stepped up the competition level, guys. He hasn't been fighting this level of competition until he got with Reynoso. When he got with Reynoso, now they're calling out the bigger fighters, the big cats, the big fights. So that's another reason why. So I don't agree with just retiring just because you have a loss. We need guys like Oscar to continue to evolve in the sport. Whether that be a new trainer or not, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm on the opposite side of the court than you, okay? We were just talking about fighter health, right? His style is going to get him beat up, okay? And if he is not good anymore, if he's to a point that he's dwindled, he's just going to, like you were saying, just get beat up. You're one-dimensional. If you're able to be figured out that bad, these guys are just going to work you over anyway. Now, if your argument is, you at least let him get some paychecks, that's one thing to say. But to consider his health, maybe he should retire. Maybe he should look into that.
He's still winning those fights in between the big fights, Lucas. He's still winning fights in between the big fights. He just can't win the big ones. That's it.
That's a big problem to have, though. A lot of people are not okay with being gatekeepers, not okay with just not being able to compete at the A level anymore.
But who are we talking about? We only talk about Navarrete and Shakur. Those are the only two big names that he wasn't able to beat, right? It seems like I remember that.
But then who else is there? Right. But then who else is there?
I mean, but Shakur is not at 130 anymore. And Navarrete is talking about going back to 135 because he knows that's where more money's at. So who's really going to be at 130 to be able to, challenge him?
Which is why I'm saying
126 even.
Exactly. You're actually absolutely right, which is why
that just means there's nobody to fight, though.
No, there's plenty of people to fight now.
I mean, that's saying the same thing.
No,
they
Lucas,
just don't have the big.
You're saying there ain't no big names?
You're missing the point, though. Shakur is right. She has a point. The big elite fighters that he fought was Shakur, Navarrete. He lost those fights. He's still winning fights in between that. So who are you to say that he can't beat anybody? Is what she's saying. Let him still
I'm
try
saying,
and compete
I'm
to beat the
mine
guys.
was not in all the way that he can't right now. I'm saying there was a decline. I did say that. I'm not saying that he can't win other fights. But what I'm saying is what if he's not able to, right? Would you not want him to retire?
But I don't think that. And Shakura, from what she's saying, I believe she thinks the same thing. She doesn't think that. We don't think that he can't beat guys.
I just think we're not giving Navarrete enough credit if we're saying, that Valdez looked worse. Because the thing of it is that it could have been Navarrete that looked better.
Well,
I
no,
mean,
Could
he
be.
had a
I,
brand
It
new,
could be. But
yeah, he had a brand new wrist and hand. Remember, he had a surgery. It felt a lot better
that's
this fight,
and I
and
was just comparing it to the first fight. I'm not comparing it overall. I was saying since the
okay.
first fight and the second fight, there was a steep decline between those two. Those performances, one clearly did better than the other. So,
you know, hey,
if is it mostly Navarrete getting better? Is it Valdez on a decline? I think it's somewhere in between. But I do see there's
Mhm.
decline for Valdez.
yeah, no, I definitely see some of his skills, some of his reflexes being diminished. I saw him bracing a lot, and he never did that. He was always fighting, his eyes wide open, moving his head, staying out of trouble. But now, when you see him brace, he's just absorbing a lot of punches, and it doesn't look good. It's not a good look, man. And he, I hopefully he'll take a few more fights, maybe at a lower level of competition, and call it a day. Because once your reflexes are diminished, that is not a good sport to be in.
Right.
Well, I agree with Adam here too. I mean, you got to give the guys a chance to come back. Look at Daniel Dubois. Look at Joseph Parker. Look at them. They both came back, and you're right. They both were written off pretty much in the same light as Oscar, as some of these other fighters.
Yeah, but the difference,
Sometimes Lucas, and here's the problem. Hold on. Here's the problem with Lucas, because I
You
know
hold me
Lucas
back.
by now.
You hold me back.
Here's the problem with Lucas, because I know Lucas by now. He doesn't like a fighter to take a down fight. He thinks fighters should always fight better competition, higher competition. No,
No.
sometimes you need to build your confidence up and beat a few tomato cans to get back up there. Sometimes you might have to do it for a year or two. I don't mind that.
I mean, I think Prince Albert Bell is waiting at 130. Um, and he's like the number one contender on I believe it's the WBO. At least it might be the WBA as well now, but that's a young, hungry lion. So that's who's waiting for you at these divisions. Men that are like, on the come up, like they're fresh and hungry. When you hang around these divisions for so long and you end up on that tier where you fought in most of the best already, now you're gonna start encountering this younger generation, and they're looking for names and they're looking for more money than what they've been fighting for. So that'll be the next problem that he will run into if Oscar continues to stay at 130. Not to mention 126, because now you're back in the Fulton and the Figueroa and those beasts.
Yeah.
Like
He's
there's no good options in either one of these
right?
weights right now.
and that's part of it. Like, there's so much talent that where is he going to fit into it all? I don't want to see him just get beat on, and that's kind of what I see. Unfortunately, I'm not trying to be mean, but it looks like during these matchups that I'm not favoring Valdez here. I'm not favoring Valdez here. I'm not favoring Valdez here. So I don't want to say he can't win at all, but I would say he's an underdog and almost top 10 of most things. So again, why not retire? Why continue to get beat up?
Yeah, you just
Well, I
got to look
mean,
Again,
at.
it's a loop we keep
Yeah,
coming back to.
you just got.
Guaranteed a rematch with Navarrete didn't make those factors any better. Like you're
Definitely
you're
not, but
you're making more money than your first fight because it's a rematch, but then you're also taking on that damage, and the way that Navarrete hits and punches is it's that type of life changing, shortening your career type punishment. And so I don't know if that was the greatest move to make for his longevity if he wants to stick around longer. I don't know if that was the correct yes, you know, that him and his team made.
Yeah, no, I'm starting to see a lot of wear and tear on him, and I can kind of feel it in his speech, and
Hmm.
just it just seems that way. And if you look at his style of fighting, those fighters, they just don't last as long. Not
Yeah.
as slick boxers that are know how to stay out of trouble, and just don't take that kind of punishment. He does take a lot of punishment, regardless of who he's fighting. He's taking a lot of punishment. Yeah, he beat Adam Lopez soundly, and he beat a few other guys and Burchelt. But even in the fight against Burchelt, he took quite a few. Regarding that previous comment about Dubois and Parker, bouncing back, yeah, he did. They both did, and that's all good. But they never really showed that kind of diminished reflex that Valdez is showing, and that's quite a difference there. Both Dubois and Parker are pretty much at the top of their game now. Valdez, I'm thinking, is on the backside of that career.
Hey,
But looking at
I credit
Valdez,
Parker to a lot of Andy Lee. What were you saying, Ron?
well, you're mentioning Valdez being diminished based off of Navarrete.
The
Okay,
last two fights.
Navarrete fights, right? And I don't think that's fair. I think, like Adam was saying, and I think I'm right. Give him some C-level fighters, let him get his confidence back up, get back out there in the ring and enjoy
Hey,
yourself again.
there's a double-edged blade with that, because that C fighter puts you on your ass, and then what? Now your whole legacy is diminished. Listen, like I said, when boxing, and that's been the kind of the overall summary of this is, appearances matter in boxing, and unfortunately, you don't want to go in there with a C guy and then either one look bad or end up retiring against a C guy. That's worse. End off a ass whooping like Valdez. End on those hard fought fights. That's a reason to go out. It's still, you went out with a spark, not a whimper. You know how people are going to remember Danny Garcia if he doesn't continue, just like he ended against Lara, which was not well at all, right? He's tarnishing himself. You should have retired and not came back. Sometimes it's better to just leave it alone.
But you
Tyson,
said
for
that.
God's sakes, Tyson, leave it alone. Stop. Don't diminish yourself with
You
this
just had
shit.
to
Lucas,
get
though,
that
you
in there.
brought
You just
up,
I
had to
you
get
had
gave
that
us
in
to.
an
there.
Yes, I
example.
fucking had to.
Lucas, you ended up giving us an example of when someone could have retired, but they look good at the weight that they're at. Like Laura. I mean, Laura was a mover. He
There's
was a slick
exceptions, sure.
boxer. He was, like James is saying, he was a slick boxer. Now, when you see the older side of him, he has to be more stationary,
But
but he does pretty damn good at that.
but
So it
but
it
I'll
it's,
do
it
you.
could be going
I'll
either
do you
way. You
one
don't
better.
know.
I'll
fight
do you one
fight
better,
knowledge
Shakur.
though. Laura's at the top. Okay, Laura's an Einstein. Laura's a Elon Musk. He's up
I'll do
there. He
I'll do
knows.
you one better, Shakur. So
Not a
tell
lot of people
Tevin
can do that.
Farmer, tell
He's been
Tevin
able to
Farmer
adjust
he
to
should
his
have quit.
age really well.
Tell Tevin Farmer he
Yeah.
should have quit. Then tell him that, because that's what y'all would have did in this case scenario. Because he
Why you
couldn't
trying
beat
to say
anybody.
y'all? No, all of us didn't
Because he
agree with
couldn't
that.
beat anybody. But now look at him coming back.
All right.
Why? Because he gained more experience, he gained more confidence, and he's
Sometimes your
all the
body
way
just
back.
need a good rest too. Sometimes your
Absolutely.
body can be worn the heck out from so much consistent damage that it just really does need a break. I think Syrian was the one that gave us that training video with an older fighter and his training. He was like, it took him a long time to understand that less is more. So like less training actually did him better than just like staying in the gym constantly,
Right,
because he wasn't giving his body time to heal. Like
right.
so that could be the situation with a lot of fighters that are taking these back to back to back fights, and not giving their body enough time to heal as they, go into their 30s, and being an experienced fighter.
Yeah, that's a good point because I think Valdez
So
is the type of guy who's going to be in the gym more often than not getting that
Uh-huh.
rest and getting that breather, quote unquote breather. Um,
so,
but I mean, he's already him specifically. He's 33 years old, so it's kind of time to start thinking about that next move and what it's going to be, and if it's taking some C level fighters, well, for a couple of fights and then calling it a day. I'm all for it because I don't want to see him get hurt. I like that guy. He's a really really good dude.
Yeah, I
well,
like
I
Valdez
started.
too, and he's interested in entertaining fans. That's something that he likes to do. So, we as fans need to be like, well, I don't want to see him taking on too much damage just to entertain me. When you got a whole lifetime of, possible injuries occurring from what you did just to entertain an extra 2 years.
Well, you know it's
So,
coming though. You know it's coming because he's been in so many wars. You know what the
right.
rest of his life's going to be like to an extent. There's a lot of compromise that he's going to encounter simply
Mhm.
because, or that he's going to have to come to grips with simply because he's been a fighter, and that's most fighters. The rest of their lives are um, pretty difficult. I mean, with pain and injury, and the sport just takes a lot from you. It doesn't give it back either. And he's going to have to live with
Right.
it as it is, regardless. So I'm thinking, make the right decision, couple of fights here and there, and done deal.
That
And
Go
all
go
being
out with a
said,
bang. Try to get a celebrity type fight, or try to get another A level and just give it everything you got and retire with that money. But I don't want to see another Brandon Rios, um, Mike Alvarado. I
I
don't
don't know
I
why.
don't want to see
I
them
love
go
those
out like that.
fighters.
No, no, no.
I
Yeah,
I
me
love
love
those
too.
those.
fighters.
The first two
Why?
fights were great. I don't want to see that third fight. I don't want to see what happened to them in the fights after
you
that
know,
third fight. They were very very diminished after that. Rios got knocked out by Bradley really bad. It seemed like every punch affected him so bad. I think Valdez will get to that point, and I agree
Well,
wholeheartedly with
Lucas,
James. I think you need to
It's
just
those trilogy. Emilio always points out to me those trilogy fights. They are like career killers right there.
yes,
Like they shorten the lifetime. And of course, there's the Marquez versus Vasquez fights. That was a trilogy. That's another one that shortened, the careers of both gentlemen. So like, those trilogies, although we love the trilogies, you got to be like, remember how mad people were at the other Marquez when he wouldn't give Pacquiao a rematch after he finally won the fourth fight? I mean, I'm
yeah,
like, four fights, people, leave the man alone.
they
Then
offered
he
him,
got out, right?
they
He had
offered
one
him,
more fight and he was like, I'm out, right?
they,
That's why.
they offered Marquez a bundle for that fight, and he turned it down.
Yeah,
Thank
because
God.
he knew.
Yeah,
because he
but
knows that the summary of the show is appearances matter. And he wanted everybody to know that he beat fucking Pacquiao. He wanted everybody to know that shit.
well,
You
He
said,
said, I marked that in legacy. At the end, I beat Pacquiao. He got all this other shit. I don't care. I beat Pacquiao.
well, Lucas, I did start this whole conversation with I wanted to talk about Oscar Valdez in this fight. So
well,
all that being said, that boy got his ass kicked. Okay.
I'm
Navarrete,
done with you,
Navarrete
for
is a
real.
beast. I definitely agree with Adam on that. Navarrete is a beast. Not only is he's highly entertaining. I mean, I want to see him fight anybody and everybody. And I hope he goes up in weight, and I hope we see him just wreck his way through those top contenders because there's quite a few of them there.
Oh, he's itching, and
Um,
now that he has that surgery under his belt, he's got to go up there and give it another try. Like he's like itching to get back up there at 135, and I don't blame him.
eh, much
There's
better.
some
Yeah,
good names there. Yeah.
he looked a little bit drained at weigh-in. So hopefully,
Okay.
135 be a little bit better for him. Not too bad, not too super drained, but there was some signs, and his skin was really like, I don't know, like kind of pasty, and his eyes were kind of like sucked in a little bit. But that's just boxing. The one thing I do want to say is that you guys reminded me of something that I saw quite some time ago in boxing, and it was an Arturo Gatti fight. And he went to war, and I swear I don't remember who he was fighting. Early in the fight, his eye swelled. I guess it was his left eye, and could not see the right coming to save his life, and got hit repeatedly. And I'm like,
Oh.
why the F are you in the ring? You can't see this punch coming. Your eyes already swollen. It's early in the fight. This one is over 5 minutes ago, and just kept getting hit over and over and over. And I think he was fighting De La Hoya. I just don't remember.
Oh.
And I'm like, God damn, you were
Like
done.
stop.
You were done months ago. I mean, it was just no point in this, and I couldn't watch it. And the dude was an absolute warrior. But I mean, he was getting beat soundly and just had no business in the ring, and it just made me feel bad for him, because maybe he really needed the dough. Maybe he really needed that purse. Maybe it was just a little bit to the point where he had spent more than he had made. Who
Oh,
knows?
you
I
know
don't,
that.
I don't, but a lot of people do. A
Yeah.
lot of people do that rather. Um, but yeah, I just didn't see any point
I mean, it's kind of like,
making
when you
this fight.
lived your whole life making that type of money, it's kind of like, well, where the hell else could I, figure out how to make this kind of money this fast? And that's the only thing you know how to do for a lot of boxers. So that's what he did. I mean, and somebody was willing to have that name on Oscar De La Hoya's record. So it happened.
Yeah.
Um, and should it have happened? Probably not. But these are choices that some boxers need to make towards the end of their careers, unfortunately. um I wish it was like football, where when boxers turn professional, they actually got the financial training and stuff that the rookies get when they enter football. Like
Yeah.
that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I was actually about ready to say something like that. But
Uh-oh.
I'll touch on it. Rob, go ahead. What you were going to bring up?
Guys, next week is a big week. You have the Usyk Fury 2 rematch. So all of our
Ooh.
fans get ready for that next week. Funny announcement recently made, and this will allude again to more bullshit boxing politics. But the main undercard was Madrimov versus Bohocek. And Madrimov just pulled out of that fight. Why? Because he has a fight coming up with Virgil Ortiz in
Mm-hmm.
February. So
Right.
Madrimov all of a suddenly has bronchitis and withdrew from Bohocek because he
I
wants
believe
no
him.
parts of that.
I mean,
I don't
I could
like
something's
have
this
going
one
double.
around.
punch right now.
I don't like this
Man.
double booking bullshit. I mean, when a fighter's double booked like that, this just doesn't make sense to me. I think it's disrespectful too.
Very disrespectful. You basically saying I'm going to win this fight and I'm going to go and fight somebody else. Canelo did that too. I don't like that shit. That's not cool. Very disrespectful.
But remember, Bohocek was the one who just gave Virgil Ortiz fits
Right.
prior to this bout. And you already saying, you're right, James. What are we doing here? You're going to put them up against each other. That's not a guaranteed win. So why would you put him up against this kid who almost beat Virgil in the first bout, went the whole 12 rounds, so you don't know what could happen here, and then you're already going to put Madrimov in with Virgil in February. Yeah,
Mm.
it didn't make sense to begin with.
Well,
Well,
all right.
that whole situation got messed up by Boost. Damn it. It's all his fault. Now you're not gonna blame you're not gonna blame any other boxer. He's the one that made this whole like cycle of collapsing fights happen.
All right.
But now I'm hearing that Teofimo might be fighting him. They're in talks now, apparently. So I would love to see that fight
But
too.
at what weight? At 47?
147, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Well, he can't hardly say, "Okay, I'm willing to fight Tio at 154" when he wouldn't fight.
Well, no. But I was under the impression that Boots Ennis was moving up to 54.
Yeah, he changed his mind, and
Okay.
that might have been a reason why. If he knew he might could make some money, at 147 before moving up,
Yeah,
I would do it.
they wanted to fight. They wanted to fight Ortiz at 47, and the only way
Yeah.
for Ortiz to make 47 is to cut his legs off.
Right. Yeah. That was just horrible to even suggest that Virgil try to make weight at 147 when we all know,
Yeah.
his health history when it comes to 147. So he
Trying
looks
to
good
kill
at
the guy.
154, and I don't see a reason for him to move down. There is lots of talent at 154 as well. Like, it's just all about scheduling people and who's willing to actual fight a sound Virgil Ortiz, because that's like a train coming at you too.
Mhm.
That you're gonna get some damage in a fight with him too. So
No, I kind of wanted to come back around to the comment you were making about the NFL, and I agree wholeheartedly. I think we need that sort of thing in boxing, but the problem is you have to create a league to do that. Turk, I hope you're listening, Waddy. I hope you're watching the show, because you're the man that could fix a lot of what we're talking about with boxing here. You want people to be able to sustain themselves. We get the NFL Players Association. You retire, you still get paid, so you're still being taken care of at least. I'm not sure what that is off the top of my head, if I'm being brutally honest. I don't know what these retired players get paid, but at least it is something. It is money in their wallet, and we don't have that now for these fighters. We don't have that at all. And a league forms other situations, Shakur, Robin, James, that maybe they could clear up, right? You could take out and have more control over. Maybe a cut man and a medic is going to be the same thing. Because why are they not? Why can you not be like, this cut is too bad for you to continue? I have to stop the fight. And it is not a part of the corner. It's a part of the league, right? It's as a doctor still. It's not, just somebody calling the fight to call a fight. No, it's in cases like we seen this past weekend that elbows are occurring. And these doctors need to be watching just like a judge so that they can catch these things, these elbows, these head collisions, these cues for concussions that may already be there. I'm not so sure that happens on a regular basis, but Turk would be able to manage it all. Get these guys retirement, give them something to fight for, make everything on a more fair, level playing scale. To tear boxing down and rebuild is the only way, guys. This is not getting any better. So the league format, I think, is really the only way that boxing can thrive now. There's too many other spots there. Rob, I seen you come off mute. Do you have something to say?
I absolutely agree with you. Okay. And the argument for years has been, well, what about the purist fans? What about the purists? They're gone already. Those nostalgia fans, the fans who love the sport for years and years and years, they're already gone already. They've already checked out. The only way to fix it is to make changes and rebuild it.
Partially agree, but we don't want to go too far into that. Isn't Turk talking about coming up with a tournament? There was a talks of a league and a tournament, but there's a lot of talk that goes on in boxing, not necessarily a lot of follow-up. So I hope that this comes to fruition. So far, Turk's at least been up to his word on what he's tried to put together. Hopefully,
there's been talk about setting up like safety nets for fighters who are no longer fighting professionally. But it's almost impossible to do it because boxing is so fragmented as it is. But it really should be a little bit more equitable. Hopefully with Turkey in control of as much as he is, we might see something like that
And like we said, good with the bad, because then it's going to be, well, now it's kind of a monopoly of boxing. That's not necessarily a good thing either. So
Well,
with all the good things that could
You
come,
read
there's
my mind,
always
Lucas. You read my
that touch of
mind.
bad, you know.
You
But
read my mind. One person with unlimited purses now control when boxers fight.
I say monopolize it, damn it. I only want one champion. One damn champion. That's it.
And that's definitely not happening because he's paying every sanctioning body sponsorship dollars right now.
well, that might
So,
be.
until
like,
he
so
learns he can rework it though and have a Turkish-Irish belt.
Well, no, 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 no. It's
No, you don't make it
Ring.
that.
He
It's
can.
Ring. It's Ring. He purchased Ring magazine for
That's true.
Exactly.
Oya,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that
that would be
in
good.
in
I
that
mean, I like that move. I
in
did
that
like that
purchase
move.
was included Ring magazine, and they paid like, well, it's actually like $7 million, but then they have the Ring belt as well, and so that will probably be the one championship belt, because I have always felt that way. When you have four champions, they're really not champions. They're really not. You need to. Championship is singular. There's only one. There's only one World Series champion. There's one Super Bowl champion. One Stanley Cup. One.
But that's why we love when they come together
Wins.
and have unification bouts and undisputed champion bouts, because
Yeah,
then we finally see, like, well,
undisputed.
supposedly we see which one is really the best.
A
But
closer.
that's if those four belts belong to people that at the top
Undisputed.
of the chain.
Definitely it. But hopefully, with Turkey in charge of things now, they may be able to do something like that finally.
I agree. Let's get back to what I was comparing it to. So the NFL, right? Just read a
Right.
stat: 80% of their games have came down to a one-score game. A one-score game. So they've created a product that is fair, and they did that by making salary caps, by changing specific rules to try to level out the playing field. And they did a good job doing that. But they've also have a lot in common as far as a contact sport, right? There's a lot of head injuries in football. There's a lot of serious injuries in football. You can get severely hurt. Now we have to draw a line, right? And the NFL has that league, and the league is the one that says you have to be safe. Boxing don't got no league. We just got a bunch of mess, right? But the league is the one that protects them and say, you have a concussion, you can't go out, right? I saw Troy Aikman get smelling salted 3 times against the game with the Vikings back on Turkey Day, like when I was like 12, right? That shit don't happen no more. I saw Ronnie Lott, tell them cut the rest of his finger off so that he can go back into a football game. Are we going to allow stuff like that? Or are we going to take the more safe route and steer clear of that? Are we going to say, you can't go out, or should they be allowed to fight with problems? Should that be up to them? I don't know. But here's the problem: is Ramirez, Robeisy, if things were in place, maybe he wouldn't have been allowed to go back out at all. He would have saved him face. It would have saved a lot of other issues. You don't have anybody biting Robeisy's head off because it's not Robeisy. It's the league. We need this. I think boxing really does. Do I want to see another Dana White, which turns into Turkey Alish as far as boxing is concerned? Maybe not. But I gotta hope that there's going to be better formation, better everything once the league is formed. Guys, it's getting late, so that is going to be it. Please comment, tag us in anything with your ideas on what can be changed, what would make boxing better. For all of us here at Heavy Bag Boxing and Tough Talk, we hope you have a happy holiday. Check us out next week. Usyk Fury 2. Going to be a good show, guys.
Yes.
Have a good one.